This week on Ebert and Roeper, bank robbers Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton take Cate Blanchett hostage in Bandits.
Also, Albert Brooks and Lily Sobieski test the age barrier in My First Mister.
And Johnny Depp tries to save Heather Graham from Jack the Ripper in From Hell.
I gotta be honest with you, it's not that difficult. You walk in, you ask for the money, you walk out.
You got the gun? No.
Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton are wisecracking bank robbers in Bandits, one of 6 new movies this week. I'm Richard Roeper.
And I'm Roger Ebert. Our first movie is Bandits, and it stars Bruce Willis as a bold adventurer who teams up with the timid and fretful Billy Bob Thornton to break out of prison so that together they can become the most famous bank robbers in America. Willis believes in improvising, and here pulls off a stick-up armed only with a magic marker.
Take out your gun, thumb and middle finger on the butt. Hand it to me slowly. Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be out of your way in just a second. No phone calls, no alarms, please. Cash drawer is open. Take a bag, fill it with cash. Take a bag, fill it with cash.
Then they take Cate Blanchett hostage. They both fall in love with her. She falls in love with both of them, and that makes things really complicated.
The sleepover bandits. Oh my God, you're practically famous.
Billy Bob's character is allergic to everything, is phobic about everything, and worries about everything.
Okay. She hit you with her car. What the hell did you bring her out here for? Well, 1, I had no choice. 2, I may have suffered a slight concussion. And 3, she's mentally unbalanced to a spectacular degree.
I can hear you.
The characters are original and funny in Bandits, especially Billy Bob Thornton's. His character is even afraid of antique furniture. But the movie is a mess. It doesn't know if it's a thriller or a comedy or a romance or romantic comedy or even whether it's sincere or not, and is told in a flashback structure that's annoying during the movie and really infuriating when we see how it turns out. It's rare for a movie to have such likable characters and be so unlikable itself, but Bandits pulls it off. At the beginning, I was smiling at this movie, and by the end, I was actually mad at it.
I thought it was funny throughout. I got a big kick out of this movie. I didn't think the Cate Blanchett character worked that well. But that aside, the stuff with Billy Bob Thornton and Bruce Willis is just hilarious. And I love the fact that his character is such a hypochondriac. I mean, obviously, that's kind of playing off the weirdness of Billy Bob Thornton as we know him. And here you have these 2 follically challenged stars having fun wearing their wigs, and the bank robbery scenes are funny and interesting. I like the sleepover bandit stuff, the TV coverage of it.
You know,
it's a lot of fun,
The movie
Roger.
is like
a lot of fun.
It's like a smorgasbord that doesn't commit. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It's not really a comedy. It's not really a bank robbery thriller. It's not really a romance. It's like little test runs.
Why can't it be a little bit of each of those? Why
because
can't
it can't, because it doesn't work.
I think it's effective at all.
You sit there constantly waiting for it to find its rhythm. And actually, the Billy Bob Thornton character per se, allergic to or phobic to everything, is a comic creation that could have fueled the movie all by itself if that had been the idea they set
Well, I'll give it
around.
credit for having even more than that. I like the cousin who joins the gang as the driver.
No, he's kind of
There's a lot of fun in this
doesn't work.
movie.
The cousin is a nuisance.
I think you're being way too hard on this film. I enjoyed it. Okay, our next movie is the exhilarating martial arts fable Iron Monkey from director Yen Wo-ping. He was the choreographer for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and The Matrix, but he's also a veteran master of the Hong Kong action cinema, and he's worked with crossover stars Jackie Chan and Jet Li. In 1993, Wo-ping directed Iron Monkey, which is just now reaching American theaters, much to our benefit. The title character is a Robin Hood type who confounds the corrupt government in a mid-19th century Chinese village. Like most superheroes, the Iron Monkey has a day job. He's a kindly doctor with an assistant known as Orchid. And Gene Wang plays Orchid. The Iron Monkey is a fictitious character, but his protege, Wong Fei Hong, is based on a legendary but real-life Shaolin monk. This newly restored print of Iron Monkey is a wonderful piece of eye candy wrapped in an old-fashioned story of noble underdogs upending vicious tyrants. Everything in this movie works. There's great humor in the playful dialogue, the sly plot twist, and the numerous battle sequences are nimble and furious. For pure escapist entertainment, nothing in theaters right now can top Iron Monkey.
You know, I liked it too, and I'm glad to finally see it because when Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon came out, I got a lot of email from people saying, Well, you know, you don't really understand the martial arts genre, or you would realize this movie isn't original, because Iron Monkey, which was made 8 years ago, has all the same stuff in it. And now that I've seen it, I'm able to see why Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is a better movie, because in terms of its dreams and its imagination and its romance, it has more than martial arts. And Iron Monkey, which I'm recommending and which I enjoyed, is essentially just a technical exercise, basically. And it doesn't transcend the way that Crouching Tiger
Well, it's not as lush or as sweeping or as large as Crouching Tiger. It's not as good of a movie, but for what it is,
but, you know,
the fight sequences are fantastic in this, and there's a lot of humor in here.
But,
I thought it was really funny.
I feel that Iron Monkey is basically for the insiders, for the martial arts fans. It's
Really?
not a
I don't think
crossover
so.
movie to the general audience.
See, now I would disagree with that. I think it is a crossover
it's too inside
movie.
baseball or too inside kung fu.
You know what? How much do you have to know about kung fu to know it's really cool when guys are flipping backwards and landing on bamboo poles and
after a
flying
certain
through the
point,
air and cracking jokes while they're doing it? How
when they're
inside is
balancing
that?
on the poles over the fire, that's really
great stuff.
But the fact is, that's it. I mean, if you want to see 2 hours of that, then this is the movie for you.
Oh, it's
but
like
if
a
you want
Batman
something
movie. You got a
else,
superhero, people are trying to figure out who they are. It's basically a martial arts Batman movie.
But Batman with only stunts and no story. Later in the show, Johnny Depp tracks Jack the Ripper in From Hell. And coming up next, David Lynch weaves an erotic web in the thriller Mulholland Drive.
Kill the lights!
Wonder where you were going. Mulholland Drive.
Laura Elena Herring and Naomi Watts play the slinky brunette and the bubbly blonde in David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, one of the few brilliant movies in a disappointing year. This is a Hollywood film noir told entirely within a dream. There are no waking moments as far as I'm concerned. Like a dream, it lingers on what it finds fascinating. It shortcuts the dead ends. It includes bits and pieces from other dreams, and it touches on various real memories. Both women are in Hollywood hoping for careers in the movies.
You say we'll never part, our love's complete. Those are 16 reasons why I love you.
Justin Theroux plays a movie director who's been told he will be killed if he doesn't cast the right actress. He uses Herring in a demonstration of how a scene should be played.
And when you kiss her, it's just a continuation of that move. There's no break.
The brunette has amnesia, and as the girls team up to track down her missing identity, it's like L.A. Confidential crossed with Nancy Drew.
Now you got me scared.
I haven't been a fan of David Lynch because I felt his previous movies toyed with us, but this one commits. It breaks through that barrier of self-parody that Lynch has put up, and it becomes a rare dream movie that really does follow nightmare logic instead of just recycling Freudian symbols. In the movie, Laura Elena Herring names herself after Rita Hayworth and is one of the few actresses who can get away with that because she looks like a real old-fashioned movie siren. Naomi Watts is like a plucky Doris Day character, and I love the way at the end of Mulholland Drive, the stories and characters begin to shatter and recombine just as a dream does when we start to wake up.
Well, I'm not sure about that Doris Day comparison, because I'm pretty sure Doris Day never had a topless lesbian love scene, but I get what you're saying.
It would have been interesting if she had.
did. And I get what you're saying exactly about Laura Elena Herring, because she does look like an old-fashioned movie star, unlike a lot of these stick figure leading ladies in movies. I'm recommending this movie, although I do think it toys with us. I think this was originally going to be a television pilot, and there's a lot of stuff that's left unresolved, but I guess that's okay because it's so interesting, and like you said, if you look at it as a dream, it's a twisted piece of genius, I guess, as a dream, because there's a lot going on. I don't know exactly what the heck happened in this movie, but it kept me
from moment to
riveted.
moment, you can't stop watching. And I have a theory about the TV pilot business, because this was allegedly done as a pilot for ABC.
Right.
David Lynch is an intelligent adult human being. He knew, he must have known, that no television network would ever show this material. My theory is he takes the money wherever he can get it, and then he makes exactly the movie that he wants to make.
Well, that's
and
brilliant,
this
too.
movie,
I like that.
As it stands, really does work, and I know that it would have never been a TV series.
No, but it would have been a hell of a TV series had it been.
Had it been.
But
yes,
as a
that's
film,
true.
we're both saying it's one of the most interesting things we've seen this year.
Yes, it is. Okay, coming up next, Johnny Depp fights personal demons and a serial killer in From Hell.
Jack the Ripper's not finished.
And looking ahead to next week's openings, we'll review Robert Redford battling James Gandolfini to control the last castle.
I don't need to justify myself to you, do I?
I don't know. Do you?
Throat must have been cut in the carriage. I imagine they stopped it just over there or something.
They? There's more than one then?
Most definitely.
This was all in your vision.
Johnny Depp is a police inspector whose nightmares match the reality of the blood-soaked streets of London in From Hell. The Hughes brothers have tackled the Jack the Ripper legend with bloody zeal, creating a rich and dark version of London in the 19th century. Someone is murdering prostitutes with ghastly precision, cutting their throats, removing their organs, and leaving cryptic messages. Depp plays Inspector Frederick Aberline, who asks the Queen's senior doctor for help.
He entered the abdominal cavity, so you would have had to use more than just merely the Liston knife. Perhaps he was carrying a portable amputation kit similar to this. What do you think?
And that's Ian Holm as Sir William Gull. Jason Fleming is the scummy but spooked carriage driver who takes the Ripper to his victims.
I don't understand that. I don't understand, sir.
Hell, Netley. We're in hell.
Heather Graham is Mary Kelly, one of the prostitutes targeted by the Ripper.
I really do have visions, you know.
Are you serious?
Sergeant Godley calls them my intuitions. As a matter of fact, I have one about you in this case.
Now, the tiny Graham is probably more trim-waisted and clear-skinned than most of the whores who roamed London's alleys in 1888, but she gives a good performance, as does the always reliable Depp. Even more impressive is the direction from Albert and Alan Hughes. Their palette of shadows and fog and scarlet tones is countered by the startling flashes of white produced by the flashbulbs of the Rabbit Press and the visions plaguing Aberline. Based on an illustrated novel by Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell, From Hell has a howler of a theory about Jack the Ripper's real identity, but this isn't really a police procedural. It's a fairy tale gone insane, and on that level, I thought it was brilliant.
It is brilliant. And you know, that graphic novel, which breaks everything down into comic book panels, is almost like a storyboard that the Hughes brothers could start with in order to see this story so clearly. The overhead shots remind you of a comic book when they're looking down on the operating theater, and some of the creepy shots through the passages of London. It's a really great atmospheric movie, not just one of those Hammer horror films where everybody runs around and screams, but a psychological and creepy film that really works.
Yeah, I think on every level. I mean, it looks great, and that's why it's not just, you know, one of those movies where they say boo by coming up from behind, or the music scaring us. The horrors and the frights come from the story itself and the acting.
Yeah, it earns the suspense, you know. Exactly. You are following the story, and that's why you're frightened, not because they're trying to get you with sudden explosions or people jumping out from behind the shadows, as you said. And Johnny Depp is really versatile. I mean, you know, in the last 5 or 10 years, he has done just about everything.
Yeah, terrific in this.
Okay, our next movie is My First Mister, the third movie this year, starring Lily Sobieski, who was also in The Glass House and The Current Joyride, which we reviewed just last week. She plays a goth dropout, pierced and tattooed, who has no friends and no plans. She's smart, but a troubled loner. One day while she's hanging out at the mall, she becomes intrigued by the middle-aged salesman she sees in a clothing store and suddenly decides to ask him for a job.
Why don't you go home now, take the silverware out of your face, come back and say a week, look like a person, and we'll talk. But you really do have to go now because you're scaring the customers.
And of course, that's the irreplaceable Albert Brooks as the salesman. They apparently have nothing in common, but in fact, they have a lot. Both feel completely alone in the world.
I'm usually home by 9.
What happens at night?
I turn into the same person I am.
The first 2 acts of My First Mister are the most fun because the movie doesn't seem to have any agenda. It just creates 2 fascinating characters who are complete opposites and then points them at each other and stands back to see what happens then. The last act, unfortunately, involves a plot that sort of puts us on emotional autopilot. I didn't need a bittersweet payoff to like this movie. As for Leelee Sobieski and Albert Brooks, their characters are funny, sharp-edged, wry, and observant. And I was happy just listening to them talk.
You are so right about that. That's plenty. The relationship between Albert Brooks and Leelee Sobieski is worth the whole movie. For all this other stuff to happen in the last third, you know, you almost feel like there was a story conference saying, well, we have to have more things happen. And that's a shame because, I mean, I'm recommending the movie. I think it's definitely worth seeing for the performances, but I was disappointed by that last third.
Yeah, I know this is the first feature directed by Christine Lottie, the actress, and she really knows how to handle actors. Sure. But at the end, another character is brought in from left field. I wasn't interested in him. I didn't believe in what happened with him. Yeah. And as for the plot points that happened there at the end, absolutely standard and routine.
And it's not faithful to the rest, you know, the beginning of the movie, the first two-thirds of the movie, which is so much smarter than that and different and original. And for that to happen, it's a disappointment, but still well worth recommending for the performances and for the bulk of the film.
Yes, and I was so happy that it didn't turn into a Lolita story. It's not about sex. It's about the meeting of minds.
It's smarter than that. Okay, in the video spotlight, this year's most eagerly anticipated DVD when we come back.
Ebert Roeper's Video Spotlight is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. Try Raisinets in new, convenient, resealable bags.
There isn't enough power.
In the video spotlight is the much-anticipated The Phantom Menace, the first of the Star Wars movies to be released on DVD. The meticulous George Lucas has embraced the DVD format in a major way with this 2-disc edition that features a digitally mastered THX version of Episode 1 and some 6 hours of bonus material. In fact, Lucas and his special effects team returned to some scenes that had been eliminated from the movie during pre-production, and they finished working on them just for the DVD.
Come on! Charge out! Move! Pizza coming! Pizza coming!
In another scene that didn't make the cut, young Anakin scuffles with a bully named Greedo, who has a fatal barroom confrontation with Harrison Ford's Han Solo in Star Wars.
What's this all about?
He said I cheated.
Did you?
No.
You still think he cheated?
There's also a ton of behind-the-scenes footage, as when Steven Spielberg visits Lucas on a sweeping, huge set. They're like the two richest kids in the world playing with some really expensive toys.
Oh, this is our new Stormtrooper. But in a way, he's the old model, replaced by Star Wars being the new Stormtrooper.
Yeah, because what you don't realize is that these guys really are not very efficient. These things, you know, Jedi cut them down like they're butter.
With Lucas taking a hands-on approach to over 480 minutes of total material on the 2 discs, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, is a stellar debut for the franchise on DVD.
When we come back, the movie Answer Man wonders why some big movies are missing from your local screens. The movie Answer Man has received a message from James May of Clovis, California, who asks why Stanley Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey hasn't been released anywhere near him during 2001. And another message from Ronald Cousineau Jr. of Nedrow, New York, who says the new version of Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now is playing near him only on a tiny screen and not on a multiplex with a big screen. Well, he's lucky. In most markets, Apocalypse Now Redux and 2001: A Space Odyssey are not playing at all.
Affirmative, Dave. I read you.
With movies being yanked from release right now, why isn't there room for these titles in the theaters of America? They're a reminder that not very long ago, the major studios released epics with thoughtful concepts and brave ideas, and maybe it would inspire them to start thinking big once again.
Okay, recapping this week's movies, a split vote on Bandits, but 2 thumbs up for Iron Monkey, 2 more thumbs up for Mulholland Drive, 2 thumbs up for From Hell, it opens next week, and 2 more thumbs up for My First Mister. Now also opening this week is Corky Romano with the supremely unfunny Chris Kattan. He's an acquired taste in the way that chickenpox is an acquired illness.
Corky, I'm not going to give you a wedgie, I'm going to put a wire on you.
I had a little too much coffee. I'm just a little wired.
This movie is appallingly bad. It is shooting straight to the top of my list of the worst movies of the year.
Yeah, or the bottom.
Remember, you can hear our reviews at ebert-roper-movies.com and read us in print at suntimes.com. Next week, we'll be back with Drew Barrymore and Steve Zahn and Riding in Cars with Boys. And until then, the balcony is closed.
You know, I really think you were too hard on Bandits. It's a lot of fun. There's great star performances. It's well directed by Barry Levinson.
Bottom line, I didn't even think it was that funny.
Really?
See, if it's supposed to be a comedy, it wasn't that funny.
Comedy.
Except for some of Billy Bob's stuff.
CD players really eat your batteries and your money, so feed yours Rayovac Maximum. Lasts as long as standard Duracell and Energizer for less. Rayovac.
These babies were conceived using the Clear Plan Easy Fertility Monitor. It identifies more fertile days each cycle than any leading method. Clear Plan, clear results.
Rent the greatest thrills and chills just in time for Halloween. Check out Richard Roeper's picks for the top scary movies available at your neighborhood Blockbuster store. Blockbuster, bringing entertainment home.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is brought to you by